All right, hello, anybody who's here. It's me, Joshua Joshi Howard. I know a lot of you are probably expecting that this would normally be a video about the event that I went to, which is normally the plan, but unfortunately, I have come down with, might be a flu, might be the cold, whatever. Either way, the idea of recording for like 2 hours and then editing that for like an additional 4 hours just is like really intimidating right now when I'm like, just trying to be a normal person. So instead, we're going to be doing it as a stream. And if people like it, maybe we'll do more of that in the future. So this will give people an opportunity to like ask questions or tell me I'm dumb or, add fun stories. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoy this. If not, whatever. Nah, if you guys don't enjoy it, I won't do it again. Like I said, just this is just doing it because I don't want to sit in front of a computer screen for 6 hours editing videos, which is already not my favorite part of this thing. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into what it is that we're talking about. So, for anybody who already knows, and if you don't, I was at the California Cup in San Diego this last weekend. It was an 8 round event hosted by the Xenos Petting Zoo, which is filled with a bunch of really cool people down in the. They're mostly in the SoCal and like, Southwest U.S. So like SoCal, I know there's a chapter of them in Las Vegas, and then some people out in. They're around. Anyway, also Green Banner Event Company, which has like a lot of leagues. I think they're also mostly in the Southwest United States. Anyway, lots of really cool people, lots of very talented players coming in from around the United States to come play at this event, and it was my first ever 8 round event that I was participating in. So that was a lot of fun as well. Um, yeah, big shout out to the XPZ guys and the Green Banner guys for continuing to host this. I had a lot of fun. It was really good. They had good terrain, good tables. Is that like a dance studio that they would lock up every night? So I would just leave my army like on location, which was pretty cool. Yeah. So California Cup, that was pretty cool. It was. I'll go ahead and pull it up. I know I've shown this before a couple of times, but here it is. California Cup ended up being a pretty darn stacked event from what we were looking at. Sorry, I'm just speaking slowly because I'm like trying to function as a normal person. Anyway, oh crap. I gotta sort this too so I don't break it for later. Sort range G, A to Z. No, Z to A. There we go. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Anyway, it was a pretty darn stacked event. Uh, well, it had like an expectation to be like over 100, like 120 players or something. We end up actually only have like 88 playing. And we had a lot of like really high level players end up not participating. Like Brad Chester was supposed to come out, um, the orc player, and I know like Grant Kaufman, who also recently won a GT somewhere in like the San Diego area, was also supposed to play. And I want to say there was at least like one more Team USA or like Art of War player who was supposed to be here who ended up not showing up, but I don't remember all the names of the people who were there. So anyway, ended up being a very strong event. I mean, you can see here that like more than a quarter of the people who were participating were in the 1600 club. And then there were not very many people. There were only 4 people who were coming out to their first event. Also, shout out to this guy, Jeremy Crossley, who is one of the members of the YouTube channel, Harry Fills Lament. Thank you so much for being a member. Um, but yeah, very strong event overall. And the other thing that was really interesting about this event was that we weren't playing with the default Pariah Nexus missions. So it wasn't like A through N or whatever. Um, every single one was a mission that I had never played before. Um, we'll go ahead and take a look at the player pack in a few minutes. But anyway, very strong event, lots of good players, lots of good people. And then everybody here who has like a red name is part of the like the Gatehammer organization that I play with fairly often. So we were looking at a good opportunity. And the other interesting thing was that this event was giving out a golden ticket to the World Championships of Warhammer, but because it's like a week or like 2 weeks out from like this year's WCW, it was decided that the golden ticket could be used for either this year or next year's event. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, um, yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the player pack next. I think that makes sense to me. Boom. I don't want to leave the site. There it is. Cool. So anyway, really nice player pack. So the big thing that was really interesting about this event was, or one of the interesting things was, of course, that we were doing a bunch of unique missions. So Pry Nexus layout 1 on day 1, but for round 1, it was Tipping Point, Adapter Die, and Burden of Trust. And so I had to like look up what Adapter Die even meant because it's a mission rule that I have never used before. And even like playing it, I guarantee that at least once I could have used the adapter die rule and just forgot because it just doesn't come to mind very often. Um, but round 2, Crucible Battle, Stalwart, Scorched Earth. Round 3, Search, Destroy, Hidden Supplies, Purge the Foe. I actually thought this was a really cool mission because most of the time when you play Purge the Foe, you have like the 5 objective markers, which means it's very hard to ever score hold more, except if you're going like bottom of turn 5. So I actually really like that change to this one. Day 2, Pariah Nexus Layout 3, Crucible Battle, Adapter Die, Terraform. I still don't like Terraform. I think it's a dumb mission, but whatever. Uh, Tipping Point, Smoke and Mirrors, Scorched Earth. I think this is kind of whatever. I think Smoke and Mirrors is a really uninteresting mission rule in general. And then lastly, round 6, Search and Destroy, Prepared Positions, Take and Hold. And this one is very powerful because Prepared Positions is, of course, battle line units can Heroic Intervention or go to ground for free. And then lastly, Sunday, day 3, round 7, Crucible of Battle, Swift Action, Linchpin. And then the last one for the entire thing, Tipping Point, Hidden Supplies, and Take and Hold. And it's, I'll go ahead and pull up. Actually, let's go ahead and do that now. You guys can watch me do this in real time. Woohoo! Core rules, Pride, Nexus, Tournament Companion. Okay. This was on layout 6. Layout 6. Okay, cool. So, is that right? Yes, it is right. Okay, so one of the things that you'll notice about this is on like Tipping Point goes like here, I'm gonna put it in paint so I can actually draw. Boom. Boom. So Tipping Point deployment is like, something like this, right? But with hidden supplies, you're supposed to go towards the corners if those corners are touching no man's land. But in this one, the corners were not touching no man's land. And so what you end up doing is you roll off, and whoever wins the roll off decides where the objectives go. And so instead of going like towards these corners, they end up going towards these corners, which ended up putting both of them in like, it's like something like this, which was very different. So we had like, what was it? It was something like this as our no man's land objectives. Anyway, we'll get back to that later. So yeah, so that was pretty cool. Ugh, sorry for all the sniffling and coughing and whatnot. Also, thank you for the few of you who are like hanging out. I know this is probably not the highest quality stream of all time. So yeah. So anyway, that's the event that I ended up going to. Let's go ahead and take a look at the list that I ended up bringing to this one. So if you've been a fan of the channel and been watching for a while, you already know that I was working with David Gaylord, and I will be working with him again in the next like week or so, hopefully in the next couple of days, ideally, so that I can get another coaching session in before I go to my next GT, which is called Battle Shocked. But anyway, if you were watching that video, you're used to seeing, or you've already seen a lot of like the philosophy that that both he and I were like developing for this event. So let's go ahead and talk about it. We have Gaunt's Ghosts, Lord Solar, Tempestus Command Squad. I put every single gun that you could in. Three tank commanders, one of them with a multi-melta, and two of them with plasma cannons, and then they all have demo cannons and las cannon, of course. Three units of Catachan, three chimeras, one of them having a heavy flamer, and two of them having heavy bolters. Then we had three units of Ogren, one scout sentinel with a las cannon, three units of Aquilons, all with the plasma, and then one small unit of Tempestus Scions and one large unit of Tempestus Scions. And basically, what happened when I was like working on this, let's see if it's still here. Yeah, so this is like the core package that David Gaylor was like, you need to bring these units, and this was what I added on top of it, basically. I'm definitely a pretty big fan of this big Scion brick. The Scout Sentinel, I was like, this could have been like another unit of Catachan or something, but I really like the third unit of Aquilons because we were still playing where you could rapid ingress them within 3 inches, so you could use them to like charge block. And then one unit of Scions is just a really good scoring piece. I'll go ahead and talk about my impressions of this list. Okay, I'll go ahead and talk about my impressions of the list at the outset. So the first thing that I was kind of noticing about this list is I ended up getting like 3 or 4 games in before I actually went to Cali Cup. And the major thing I felt about this list, even during the event, let's see, TTS event. Also, hello, Osbox. TTS event I'm playing and has the same quirk within supplies. The direction of the objectives move changes how it plays a ton. It does. It really does. And the fact that you go one direction or another and it's a roll off can really change how big it is. I just want to look at it again, right? So, like, imagine if instead of these, like, yellow objectives. Oops. I'm suppressing a sneeze right now. Hold on. Excuse me. There it goes. You know, if they're like, if it's these red ones, right? Like this changes a lot, right? Because like these are now suddenly out in the open, whereas these yellow ones you can pretty safely stand on. I think it's a pretty interesting distinction, and we'll get to it. It was my last round. But anyway, so my general impression of this list, and I even was talking to David about it. The main things that I find about this are one, it is really unforgiving of mistakes. The fact that you have to be so precise with so much of your movement, and you have to be ready to move at least a turn in advance, and oftentimes 2 turns in advance, can really make or break what you're going to be doing with the Aquilons. And because it is so punishing of these like movement mistakes in particular, um, it ends up eating up a lot of time. And so I ended up playing on a clock, I think, for 6 of my games, and in 2 of them, I got to play like, okay, I got to play full play, I think 7 of my games, but one of them, I ran out of time in like or bottom of 4, but my opponent was also out of time at that point, so it was a very odd round altogether, and we'll get to talk about that. But yeah, this is a list that is fighting the clock nearly as much as it is fighting your opponent, just because of like how many things it is. It's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. This is still 19, 20 activations, which is just a lot of things coming out all together. Um, so yeah, so that was something that I will probably look to change, and if not necessarily like reduce the number of activations, make their jobs and make their movement easier. Is something that I'm probably going to be looking to do in future events. But anyway, so the other major thing that I tend to do is before every event, I will take a look at everything that's going to be coming to this event. And Necrons at 14, I had predicted 11 or 12 Necrons players to be coming to this event. And then Guard, I'm normally like, at most GTs that I go to, there have not been a lot of Guard players. However, a bunch of people shifted over to Guard who were not previously playing it. So Ben Jurek has been playing a variety of things. He's been playing Thousand Suns recently, but he's hopped over to Guard. Andrew Gagno, where is he? Logan Heath also recently switched over. Andrew Gagno switched over to Guard. But then after that, I think everybody else who played Guard um, has already been like on that train. So like Tony Baumeier, I know, is playing. Celeste recently switched over to playing more guard. And then Alex plays guard and has been for a while. Jeremy has been playing guard for a while. And then Taylor, yeah, there he is. Taylor, like most of the people have been playing guard, but we definitely had a couple of like last minute high level guard players join all at the end. That was rather interesting. But then you can also see like there's a lot of high level guard, a lot of high level necrons at this event. And if you take a look at like most people's history throughout this event, if they didn't play a single guard or play a single necron throughout the course of it, like that was a real surprise. Okay. Um, list thing. Okay, now we can start talking about the games. So at this event, how did I do this? All right, you're gonna have to bear with me as I like take photos off of my phone and put them into computer Discord. Because yeah, I thought I did all of the prep that I needed to before this, but I guess I did not. Boom, create battlefield, boom. Okay. Save. Send. Okay, there we go. Send it to my old roommate's dead Discord account because he does not have access to the two-factor authentication anymore. Okay, boom. Let's go ahead and talk about this one. So, did you miss the fourth Russ? I feel like in all my lists I went at least for it. Not really. I'm trying to think. I I never felt like my list was missing damage. Um, Even into like the Custodes play that I played into, I was doing so much damage to them outside of like the normal phases that it ended up being fine. I think for me, I think of the Scion brick kind of as my fourth Russ. So, I generally want 4 damage pieces, and I think that was the fourth damage piece for me. Also, like, Ogre and Chimeras just do so much damage anyway. To quote Nick Jagiello, 3 Ogre inside a Chimera is a 130 point Vulcan Mega Bolter, as in the one that you put on a Titan or the one you put on like a Storm Lord, I want to say it's called, the big transport one. So I never really felt like I was missing damage at all. But I think my next list will probably have 4 Russes, so we'll talk about that in a bit. Anyway, pulling up the scoreboard again. So my very first round, I ended up pairing into a guy that I've seen at a lot of events for a long time, and he is well regarded, not just in the SoCal area, but also I know he's a well regarded player internationally. I actually talked to David Gaylord, name dropped him when I was like talking about people who was coming to this event, and they were talking about the Xenos Petting Zoo guys. And Kyle Perry is definitely one of the strong Xenos Petting Zoo players, but we ended up playing this one. I'm gonna look at the thing again. This one, round 1, was on Tipping Point, Adapt or Die, and Burden of Trust. And the big thing about this is that we were playing it on this map, and I had played against Gene Sierra Colts one other time this edition, and I played up against someone who's running a very similar list to Kyle, actually. Excuse me. So I had, like, some familiarity in the matchup and, like, how to put some pressure on them. However, one of the major downsides of this game in particular is because we're playing on Burden of Trust, the home objective just doesn't matter, right? Like, you're going to score 2 points on it most turns, and that just gives you, like, a very easy, like, 2 points. But Kyle had, like, a Clamavis back here who had, like, this, 12-inch range that I can't come in with Quillons. And so it just put me in a position where I'm never really threatening to take him off, but it also doesn't really matter. And the major thing about this is because you're only scoring no man's land objectives, it is very difficult to actually build a primary lead unless you can put a ton of pressure on your opponent. And we'll get back to that in a moment. The major thing about this game that I think was true was that I feel like I played my game plan about as well as I possibly could have. However, I think I had the wrong game plan. Um, I normally use blue for me. But basically, what this game was I had like a Lehman Russ down here, I had like a Lehman Russ here, and I had like a Lehman Russ here. And one of the major things that happens in this game is so like the very first thing that really happens that like creates a potentially favorable position is I end up going first, and I draw a secure no man's land and cleanse. So I put like I don't even remember what I put. I think I put like a chimera here, and then I put a chimera here, and I had a unit of 3 Ogryn like here. And I don't remember what unit it was, but Kyle had a unit of something here that charges into this chimera. And this gives me an opportunity to heroic intervention and actually score an additional 4 points off of it. I think it's like Pure Strain Gene Stealers, only one of whom is able to uh, hit into the Ogryn. So I end up putting enough OC onto this point to take it back. Actually score a couple of extra points. So that was like one early major mistake that Kyle did make. However, over the course of the rest of the game, Kyle makes every Colt ambush roll but one. And I think he made 8 rolls and hit every single one of them except for one of them. So he was actually effectively playing with extra like 600 points of stuff, which was brutal. Um, in general though, the main like game plan thing that I think I made mistakes on was I'm pretty confident that these tank commanders or these Lehman Russes are supposed to be like just hanging out on these objectives most of the time. Because like I said, I don't care about this home objective. And if he were to like drop things back in here, I'm like, okay, cool. Like they're kind of far away. But the main reason why I didn't go for this like general game plan was I was really worried that he was just going to, put guys like here, and they were just going to out OC me on these points. But the counterpoint to that I think I missed was that even if that is true, I can trade units really aggressively. I'm not going to be scoring primary with my original plan where I'm just trying to hold and keep him off of things. I just need to make sure that I am giving myself opportunities to try and take some of these things. So instead of being like a relatively like play for like this line of scrimmage, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to play for like this line of scrimmage and just be really aggressive by putting chimeras and ogryns in his face so that he can't get to the objectives in the first place. But anyway, like I said, I ended up having the wrong plan. The other really cool thing that Kyle ends up doing in this game is I think it's turn yeah, so in top of turn 4, I'm putting pressure onto this objective and this objective, and then Kyle ends up having he doesn't rapid ingress them. Or does he? I don't remember. Either way, he drops like his 20 unit of neophytes basically in a line like this. So like this is all the special weapons, and this has like the character, and then he like maintains coherency by like drawing a line of guys through. And this is a really big deal because going into he drops it on turn in bottom of 3. That's when it happens. And then in top of 4, when I end up going for a charge with like a chimera or something onto this objective, that's a great box by the way. And he has like guys here. This allows him to heroic intervention over here, but that because all of this is not going to be getting into base to base, they can move almost freely. And so the guys that are here end up going for a charge this direction, and he's ending up being able to put a ton of OC on the middle objective. And I think I think that play was the thing that really killed me and turned this from being like a very close like 10-10 into like a what is this 62-75. I think this is a 8-12, maybe 7-13. Either way, so that was a really cool play. They ended up going for it. They ended up like really swinging the game over in his favor. But the end thing and why I still don't really like this mission, even going first as in general, is because he just had like a ton of things at the end, and he just goes like boop boop boop, and with like the extra like 60 OC of things he has at the end of the game, just like walks onto every objective and scores maximum primary on that. And that was more than the entire differential because I ended up losing this one 62-75. And like general reflections on this game, one, I have a lot of respect for Kyle. He's a really good player, really cool dude as well. the running meme is like put him on a clock and he's going to run out of time. And he was playing very fast at the end, but he had set up everything so well earlier in the game that it didn't really matter. That he was like, okay, do this thing, do this thing. I'm like, yep, 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 makes sense. Um, but the other major thing that I remember thinking about this is at the end of the game, like almost all of my favorite games of Warhammer that I've played are games that I've lost. And I think it's not in like my my top 5, but it might be in like my top 10 of games that I've played because even though I got really unlucky on the cold ambushes, um I feel like I executed the game plan that I had nearly perfectly. Um but it was just the wrong game plan. And I can never feel bad about that. Like, I feel very similarly about the game I played against Jason McKenzie, who's one of the judges at this event, but also a local top player who plays a lot of Tau, where I ended up losing that game by one. And, I had the wrong game plan, but I executed it really well, and the game was still close. And so if I had the right game plan, then I can probably win this one. So I think the biggest lesson that I learned from this one is if you're playing up against Genestealer cults and you need to control the middle of the board, just be really aggressive, especially with your vehicles. Like they cannot kill vehicles very well. They do not like they have like two things that can reliably kill chimeras, and they are one the like ridge runners with mining lasers, and two sometimes they're like pistol acolytes that have like the mining tools or whatever. Like those things can kill vehicles. That's really about it, especially if he's not running aberrants. Cool. So anyway, if anybody has questions about that, let me know, and I can kind of come back to that one. Oh yeah, let's grab the scoreboard. Not that one. That's the one. Copy. Ooh, that is very big. Okay, but yeah, so here's the end scoreboard for this one. As you can see, like I only scored one no man's land primary the entire time because he just had so many things that he could just like put on the objectives over and over again. And then he scored all of his primary like later on in the game. This one I couldn't do anything about. This one was the really cool heroic intervention, and this is I couldn't really do anything about because he had like so many things that came back. If he had like, I think if he had made two of his cult ambushes, he still would have been able to pull this off. Which is the big thing about it that made it really tough. That's okay. Cool. So that's game one. That's game one. I was playing up against Kyle. All right, let's grab game two. I probably should have talked about his list. I'll do that from now on. Boom, boom. There's that. Ha, hello, Guga. Let me grab it. Let me grab it. All right. Ugh, sorry, I feel kind of gross. All right, he was playing a Gene Cult Host of Ascension, Biophagus, Clamavis, Kellermorph, Locus, a Primus with the lethal hits or whatever. Um, Another Primus, a Saboteur, uh, one 1x5 with the mining tools, 1x10 with hand flamers, 2x5 with hand flamers, one of the big neophyte bricks, two small neophyte bricks, one Goliath truck, one unit of aberrants. What did the aberrants do this game? I don't remember these aberrants doing anything the entire game. What did they do? I don't know. Anyway, one unit of two ridge runners with mining lasers, two of them with mortars, two rock grinders, and then two units of gene stealers. Okay. So that was his list. What role did the Aquilons fill in game one? Okay. So the Aquilons, basically what they did. I'm trying to remember everything that they did. So one of them on turn three. On turn three, I drew Marked for Death, and one of the things that Kyle marks for death is he had a unit of two Ridge Runners, something like this, and I dropped one unit of Aquilons somewhere in here, such that I could throw a grenade. I was able to bring like this tank commander over here in order to do some shooting, and then I had the Aquilons there in case I needed that little bit of extra oomph in order to take down the Ridge Runners, which I did. The main thing that I was looking for in this game, the main like interaction that makes this matchup really playable, is let's just say that he drops like he's never gonna do it, but let's say he drops the 20 mana Neophytes here with the Super Primus. The main trick that this army has is if you ever shoot at this, he spends 1 CP, and this unit disappears, goes back into reserves, and then he can revive some models. So realistically, if you can't wipe the unit, it's going to just come back over and over again. But what you can do is if you drop like Aquilons during the movement phase, you can only do this stratagem during the shooting phase. So you can put 3d6 plus 9 flamer shots into this unit outside of the shooting phase where they can uh, make it safe. And then you can throw a grenade for an additional, generally like 3 mortal wounds. And this is enough to, if not fully kill this unit, to put it in a position where like a Lehman Russ is going to clear out the rest of the unit, right? Because like this is going to be 6, or let's see, this is like 19, 2/3. Let's call it 12. This is going to kill like, this is going to kill like 10. This is going to kill like 13. So you're going to kill like 13 of them, and then you'll have like a tank will kill enough of it that the unit is effectively dead, and it's not worth spending the CP to keep them safe. Um, so this is one of the things I ended up doing with the Aquilons. What else did they do this game? I mostly gave up on like trying to take his home because I didn't care about it. I put one unit of Aquilons like this because he had like, oh, this is what the Aberrants were doing. They hang out here, and I blocked them for a turn with Aquilons. Um, what else did I do with the Aquilons? I don't remember what the third unit of Aquilons did, to be honest. The Primus Neobrick is quite hard to deal with for guard. Yeah, especially if your opponent is going second, because then they can bring their Neobrick. They can bring their Neobrick after all of your Aquilons are committed to the board, so you can't do that interaction I was just talking about, which makes it very difficult to play around. Um, but yeah, I mean, just having access to that heroic intervention, it didn't actually do like any damage. It shot some scions. And I was like, cool, whatever. But yeah, I don't remember what the 13 of Aquilons did. One was here, one was here. I don't remember. Anyway. So that was game one. I felt like I played that one pretty well. Just had the wrong game plan going in. Let's go ahead and start talking about game two. I played game two against Adam Funk and his sisters. And now we're just going to dox everyone, which is fine. Okay, Adam Funk was playing a very offbeat Penitent Host Sisters list. Was there an option to string out Aquilons to screen out the ambush markers? Not super familiar with GSC. So, kind of, but the thing is, like, when you bring in units from reserves, then it doesn't count as the normal move. So the blips don't disappear. You'd have to, like, make another move afterwards. Also, yeah, they can also just, like, deep strike after. Because they are just in reserves now. They're in, like, the super position of being impossible to deal with. Yeah. Anyway, Adam Funk, let's go ahead and talk about this one. So he was bringing an offbeat sisters list. He had a Canoness, Judith, I don't remember what she did, a Ministorum Priest, Saint Celestine, a Rhino, 1 unit of 10 Arcoflagellants, 2 units of 3 Arcoflagellants, Mortifiers. What is it? Oh, I remember. These are like the not quite Penitent Engine thing. So 1 unit of 2, 1 unit of 1, another unit of 1, and then 1, 2, 3 units of 2 Penitent Engines, a unit of Repentia, a unit of Seraphim, a second unit of Seraphim, a Calidus, and a Calexis. All characters cost so much less than guard ones do for what they do. Yeah, I don't... I mean, I think guard characters are kind of bad in general. Um, or at least like you don't take characters need to be doing more than just giving orders, which I think a lot of people like look at guard characters and be like, "Ah, you need to give orders to them." It's like, yeah, that's like the bare minimum of what you expect to do with them. You need to add that next level of like what else is the character doing for us. So anyway, Adam in this one did something very interesting where he went fixed objectives, engaged in all fronts, and established locus. Um, Adam, cool guy, really liked it. So interesting things. Um, this one ended up being pretty one-sided. So he put like a couple penitent engines and mortifiers or whatever here. He had like a rhino here. Saint Celestine was chilling. I think it was Judith hung out on this objective, and then he actually like put a Calidus here. And it, yeah, basically he just had like most things were just kind of on the line. But I did a pretty standard thing. So like tank, 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 chimera, chimera, scout sentinel, chimera, whatever. Don't really want to pay for orders solely on a character. That's why I think tank commander shouldn't be that expensive. I think if you are looking at tank commanders with the idea that they are ordering something else, um, that needs to be reevaluated. It's not that tank commanders are paying to order someone else. It's that you're paying for them to have a ballistic skill of 3, which is, you know, I mean, they're still so good anyway because of like their extra, what do you call it? They basically get an extra activation, 5 times out of 6, which is really good, unless you're playing into like dedicated melee armies. Anyway, so this game, let me pull it up again. Boom. Round 2, Crucible Battle, Stalwarts, Scorched Earth. Um, so in this one, I end up going first, and what I end up trying to do with this is this Chimera runs out to about here, and I leave the and shoot everything at this Rhino, and partly because I'm pretty sure what I'm supposed to actually do is I'm supposed to shoot at this Calidus, because he ends up using it to score 4 points on engage in all fronts on his turn 1, but I had kind of forgotten that he had fixed objectives. But anyway, I leave this Rhino on 1 wound. 1 wound. There we go. Figured it out. And I basically put like a Chimera on both of these, and then I asked Adam like, okay, what are you gonna do about it? I have like tank here, tank here, tank here. You have no shooting in your army. How are you going to be dealing with any of these? And the answer was he kind of didn't. Um, oh, I also killed. Yeah, I killed a unit of like penitent engines here or whatever. I don't remember exactly how. I did some. I think I shot out like this. But anyway, then Adam just ran at me. Just like full run. He had a unit of like Repentia and Arcoflagellants like on this objective. Saint Celestine chilled. And turn 2, the major thing that ends up happening in this is uh this is the Multimelta one, and this is the Plasma, and this is also a Plasma down here. And I end up dropping like Scions in here. No, where did they go? No, I end up dropping Scions here. I super kill him off of his home objective. And basically everything in his army that isn't hiding like back here dies on turn 2. Um, he just doesn't have an army going after turn 2. And I think the only really interesting like decision that happens during all of this is Penitent Engine has a Blood Surge move. And he had like one of these Penitent Engines um, have an opportunity. Like he had 2 Penitent Engines here, and he spent the 1 CP to like Blood Surge it into a Chimera. But instead of the Chimera like saving him or like allowing him to get out of it, because these penitent engines are still vehicles. Let me confirm that. I'm pretty confident they are vehicles. Wahapedia. Boom. Factions. I hope I wasn't cheating. I don't think I was cheating. No, because I got Bring It Down off of them. Okay, cool. Not cheating. But anyway, I shot with the plasma tank first, and then I shot with the melted tank after he had blood surged, and so now he couldn't use his blood surge anywhere else on the map, which meant that all of his stuff was free for me to shoot. Um, yeah. So basically, he just died on turn two, and that was about it. Steel Storm 33. Yeah, I know TC don't have that tax anymore, but we don't take any other officer anymore for orders. We don't build around the army rule anymore, and that's what I find interesting. Yeah, I agree. I think, um, in general, I think the 10th edition is a version that has skewed too far towards chess for my liking. Like, I also play Dungeons and Dragons. I also play chess. Um, and like I stopped playing kind of both of them for a little while in ninth edition because ninth edition 40k was scratching both my chess itch and my D&D itch. Um, and right now, because like you don't take officers for the orders at all, whereas in ninth edition like you were, it felt very um, lore friendly, whereas 10th edition does not feel very lore friendly. Um, Red Revenge says, your channel inspired me to get back into 40k. I'm an old 5th edition veteran. Nice. I was also like that. I played 40k back in high school when a couple was I a junior? I was a sophomore or a junior at the time, and I played for like a year and a half or something until like my high school friends, who were a year above me, graduated and went off and did whatever. And I was a shy, awkward high school nerd, and I didn't know how to make new friends playing, so I stopped. Um, and then when I moved to LA in like 2023, yeah, beginning of 2023, I started playing again because I had some friends who were also interested, who had either played or were currently playing, which was really cool. So welcome back to the hobby. I find that too. I might jokes about 10th, then in the next step, we just roll one die for every interaction between units. Yeah, I would probably just off myself at that point if that was 40k. But yeah, all the old school 40k coming back. I've actually heard that there's like a lot of people who are kind of coming back to the hobby now that they're a little bit older and we have a bit more money. Anyway, to finish up the talk about this game, what do I do with the Quillons? I brought in one unit over here to do some damage to Celestine. I brought in a unit like here to like kill the Repentia. And then I think I put a unit here to kill like Arcoflagellants or something. Um, yeah, they didn't really do a whole lot, but the game ended really quickly. So let me just go ahead and copy this, and you guys can take a look. Boom! 99 to 24. I ended up burning his home objective this game. That was pretty cool. I missed out 1 point because I didn't draw the right secondaries. Is what it is. Yeah. And then he had like the Calexis drop on 3 to get him established locus. But yeah, this game was pretty fast. It was fun. Like I could tell like his army didn't really have the tools to deal with me at all. So it was just come in here and he died. There's probably a way to play this that would have made the game like closer, but I don't think his army had a good matchup into mine at all. So, is what it is. Yeah. Starting third, fourth was my main action, and fifth my last, so I wanted to get back in with ninth codex. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I started up again at Leviathan. Sororitas that hard to fight. Um I have found so either I have not played against like a strong enough sisters player, or I have generally found that like guard kind of goes like kind of beats them on the training thing as long as we aren't over indexing into like Rogel Dorns or really heavy, really high point units like Dorns and sometimes like Bulgrin. Just because, if we trade tanks, we're going to have more things than they do. So I don't think sisters have ever been that difficult of a matchup for guard. Um, but I'm sure I have somewhat of a skewed perspective. What do you think will get nerfed in the next update for guard? So I think tank commanders are gonna go up again. Um, Probably to honestly like 235, maybe. Um, Quillins are going to go up. If Scions stay 50 points per unit, that is ridiculous. Scions are so good. Um, Ogrins will go up. Chimeras ought to go up. Scout Sentinel, I don't know why it went down. Um, Catachan, the fact that they are still. I mean, honestly, so here's the thing about Guard is like Guard's rules kind of suck. Um, move is very powerful, and Duty and Honor is conditionally very powerful. But all of our data sheets are super aggressively costed, right? Like Scions being 50 points for 5, 10 points per model is crazy. Um, they should absolutely be like 60? 60 seems fair. 55 at minimum. Like the fact that they went down is crazy. The Chimera probably should be again should be going up like 5 to 10. Ogren should go up 5 to 10. Scout Sentinel should go up 5 to 10. Um, Tank Commander should go up 5 to 15. I think Bulgarin could go down 10. Um, yeah. Tank Commander Silent Blocks are my favorite. Yeah. Yeah, Hellhounds could go up 5 to 10. Chimeras could go up 5 to 10. Catachan, I think, should go up 5. So just like make all of our infantry 60 points, you know? That would be fine. But yeah, legitimately, I think almost everything that you see people bringing could go up 5 to 10. And I think that would be fine. Yeah. But yeah, I think the major things I would focus on are Chimeras, Scions. Yeah, Chimeras, Scions, and Catachan. I think those should all go up 5 to 10. And then, honestly, probably the Lemonros Battle Tank and Exterminator could also go up 5 to 10. Oh, the Dorn should go up 10. 10 to 15. Anyway, yeah, legitimately, like, if there's something that you see being played in a tournament, like, it could probably go up 5 to 10. Alright, cool. Legitimately, like, all of our stuff is so cheap. It's kind of silly. But it's not like Guard is ridiculous, if that makes sense. Like, we are just a little too cheap across the board. Alright, I'm grabbing the next map. Boom, save. Boom, boom, boom. I find Chimera in the overall game state 5 points overcosted. You think they should go down 5 points? The rest are quite fine, at least the playable ones. Yeah. Like, okay, so here's generally my thoughts as I get the next game thing ready. Yeah, if you forgot to see, I won that last one 99 to 24. He called it bottom of 2, top of 2, somewhere in there. Sentinels are the same. Armored, yeah. So in general, Guard is an army that is surprisingly difficult for a lot of people to play. Not because Guard is hard, but rather because what Games Workshop and like the community as a whole thinks Guard is supposed to do is not what Guard actually does. Um, when I think of Guard and what I'm used to seeing from Guard throughout like most of the history of 40K is Guard is an army that likes to sit back in its deployment zone and shoot you for 5 turns. And if you play Guard like that in 10th edition in tournament, you are going to lose. Like, it is that simple. So there's a lot of people, I think, who have been playing Guard for a long time who have, like, pushed back against that, and they say that Guard doesn't feel very good right now. And I actually sympathize with that a lot. I think that Guard is an army that doesn't do a good job on selling us on the way that it's supposed to be done. Because what Guard actually is right now is Guard is a mid-board shooting pressure army, right? Imagine like Green Tide Orcs, but instead of melee, they shoot. And so because of this, we don't do as much damage as a unit of like 20 boys when they charge in, because and we shouldn't be doing as much damage. Like a unit of 20 guardsmen should not be doing as much damage as 20 boys that make the charge. Um, However, we do like 70% of the damage, and our stuff is so cheap that anything our opponent goes in to try and trade with, we have a tank sitting behind it that's going to kill it almost immediately. And I don't think that's a very natural way for uh, for people to look at guard and think that that's how they're supposed to play, but it absolutely is how we actually play. Chimeras are never a problem, and for transport, they need to have a squad to them, so Chimera needs to be judged by the combination of Chimera and the squads that can transport. Yeah, and the problem is the things that Chimera transport right now are fucking crazy. Um, you have to remember, so I'll take a look at Wahapedia. Let's go take a look at Chaos Space Marines and Thousand Suns and World Eaters. Um, Cultist Mob, CSM. So this is so for 50 points, you get 10 models, a little bit cheaper than Catachan. But what is this? They have sticky, right? So these are, a little bit closer to Cadians, but they are OC1 and they have a 6-up save. So Catachan are way faster than Cultist Mobs because not only are we moving 6, we have Scout 6, so we get an extra turn of movement. We have a slightly better save. We have access to move, 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 and we have transports that we want to put this unit in. So we're like, like 50% better than a Cultist Mob. Thousand Suns. Let's take a look at Thousand Suns Cultists. Thousand Suns Cultists are fairly directly comparable because it's 10 models for 55 points. Also have Scout 6. They give a CP, which is like neat, but we get like, we have a slight the rules are fairly comparable. Yeah, Cultist Mobs. Oh yeah. Yeah, Cultist Mobs don't do anything. Thousand Suns Cultist, but these have like a 6-up invul, which is like, it's similar. But Thousand Suns Cultists are already considered fairly okay. But you don't ever want to put these into transport because that's points that you're not putting into Cabal of Sorcerers, whatever it's called, where you get the extra things. And then World Eaters, Jackals. Feeling Pain 6+. Rerolling things, 65 points. But these, again, like, they don't move as fast. You don't have a transport you want to put these guys in. So the fact that these guys are 10 points more, the only thing that Jackals have that Catachan don't have access to is reactive sticky. And that's because of a stratagem. Corncur's not? No. Blood Offering? Yeah, Blood Offering. They have 1 CP reactive sticky. This is really powerful. Because it means that like Aquilons or Scions jumping in can't take an objective, or like can't get you off an objective in 1 turn. And then, yeah, basically, there's no one's trash. And I think one of the main things that, again, is that all of these cultists are OC1. And I think this is like the major difference. And like something that Wesley St. Hines was talking about is the concept of parity. Every other unit or every other army generally has to kill you off of an objective. But Catachan don't. Catachan just like run in on the objective and say, hey, I am 55 points for 20 OC on this objective. And I can also be 30 OC depending on like what access to like orders I have. And no other army in the game can do that. So it's not even that like Chimeras are too good. It's just that Catachan are nuts. Ogryn are nuts. 3 Bulgrin are not nuts anymore. Khazarkin are still like, as much as we like, it's not even that like Khazarkin are overcosted. It's just that everything else that they're competing with is undercosted. So like Khazarkin are probably they might be able to go down 5 to 10, but yeah, that's that rant. Cats have 2 flavors. I don't think you nerf guard lethality. I think you hit the midward pieces by 5-10 points. Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. We have the best infantry and the best transport. Yep. Guard is present in terms of objectives. This is the only thing guard always managed to do. Yeah, I mean, I didn't play 40k between 6th and 8th. So, I only have... Because I remember back in 5th edition, you just scored objectives at the very end of the game. That's why I love playing Valkyries and being like, haha, here's my Valkyrie that moves like 25 inches or whatever it was, so I can just get anywhere. But yeah. Anyway, that's that rant. I think I ranted more about this in one of my videos, like why does guard have a bad win rate? Anyway, boom, boom, boom. Cool. Game 3. I ended up playing this one up against Death Guard. I didn't run the command rod in this list. How good is the Gaunt's Ghost plus the big blob of Scions? I think it's fine. For me, I generally find that the reason why I'm not super fond of the command rod is that my Scions are either super overkilling the thing that they're shooting at, or because they're giving, or generally the rule, the order you give them is first ring fire, second ring fire, or giving them take aim as well as first ring fire, second ring fire doesn't mean, it doesn't change the things I kill very much, right? So like, if I'm shooting at 10 jump pack intercessors or whatever, or like sanguinary guard, like Scions are gonna super overkill this. But if I'm shooting at like a Tau Riptide, the +1 Blisk skill from Take Aim, as well as first ring fire, second ring fire, generally doesn't change whether or not I kill the Riptide, right? Like it'll make me kill it like instead of 10% of the time, maybe I'm killing it like 15 to 20% of the time. I don't know what the actual math is off the top of my head, but because it doesn't change that, or like the number of things that it changes whether or not I kill them is really small, I generally don't find the command rod as valuable for me, and so I prefer the independence of just bringing the plasma pistol. Anyway, I hope that. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't move me over a new breakpoint into things that I care about. All right. Next one. I end up playing this next one against Hans Lieber and his Death Guard on Search and Destroy, Hidden Supplies, Purge the Foe. Hans Lieber. Cool. Hans is a cool guy. He's bringing a Fights First Break character. I got like mucus in the back of my throat. Sorry. Foul Blight Spawn, Typhus. One big unit of Plague Marines with the character. Death Guard Rhino that these guys are hanging out in. 2 units of Cultists. A unit of 6 Death Shroud Terminators. 3 Bloat Drones, 2 of them with the Flamer things, and then 1 of them with the melee attacks. 1 Blight Hauler. 3 Plague Burst Crawlers. 2 of them with the Flamer things, 1 of them with the las cannons. And then 2 War Dog Brigands. And this game is the game that I think I played the worst out of any game that I played. And remember, this is on Hidden Supplies. So let's go ahead. And then we had. So that means we had, like, objective something like this. And not this one. Okay. I have Death Guard PTSD after throwing 2 games in a row against them. The late game push is brutal. Yeah, you're gonna. Yeah, we'll get to it in a sec. Okay. So this game, I was feeling pretty good because 3 Plague Burst Crawlers don't actually do that much damage to things. Right, if you give, Catachan take cover, and they are in cover, like, Death Guard don't kill them, effectively. So basically what this game was, I felt like I was in a very good position in this game right off the bat. Partly because I went first. I took a Scout Sentinel here, scouted 9, and it was here, and I ended up putting like a Chimera like over here. And I think the guy sort of spilled out, whatever. And my general game plan in this one was I was going to use Tank Commander here and here in order to control this. And my goal was to use like Scions and Aquilons to come in over here, harass them off of this objective in particular. And Hans had 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, like something like this. And what I did in turn one should have won me the game because the Scout Sentinel here, and then it moves. I think I was able to give it move, move, move. So move 13, and it was here, and then it made a charge. And crucially, because like Plague Burst Mortars, you have like your box, but you also have like this Dozer Blade thing. I was able to put the Scout Sentinel like this, and the Plague Burst Crawler was against the wall. So if the Plague Burst Crawler wanted to move this way, over here, it'd have to take a Desperate Escape test. And he wasn't willing to do that. Wasn't it you who said the 4+ symbol by a Psyker isn't worth it because already have like a 3+ saving away? Yeah, probably. That sounds like something I'd say. Um, so anyway, I did this on in turn one, and then these like Death Guard PBCs are just stuck. Like they can't do anything. Of course, like this Scout Sentinel dies almost instantly after. Okay, everything is looking good, and then I tell myself, okay, cool. We're going into turn two. I need to do a couple things. I need to make sure that my opponent doesn't have a good rapid ingress spot. And I say this in my head. I tell myself, all right, Josh, you need to make sure if you just like maintain these battle lines, you are chilling. So how do we do that? How do we make sure that these guys don't move anywhere? How do we make sure that there's not area up here for him to go for a rapid ingress with his 6 Death Shroud Terminators plus Typhus? I'm sure you guys have already figured it out. The answer is you fucking drop a unit of Aquilons here. And I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And to his credit, Hans is like, okay, cool, I'm going to rapid ingress. 6 Death Shroud Terminators here. And I go, God damn it, I just lost the game. Because what ends up happening is like these guys just come over and they collapse this flank. And like I have in my turn 3, I have a moment where I have to make a decision. Decision 1 is try and recover this flank over here, where I like have a tank commander and I drop a unit of scions and I kill him off of my objective and try and recover my position on the board. That's option 1. Option 2 is I drop scions here. These come out, and I drop like 2 units of Aquilons, something like this, in order to try and take this side of the board. I don't know that this was better, because I was fairly confident that I was not going to do enough damage, and all of this would die on his next turn. So I end up choosing line 1, but the problem with this is that the damage has already been done, and I can't really come back. I don't have enough control because my flank just collapses. And like again, like I said, like this entire game is solved. Like this entire game, I am just waiting for him to come in and create space by just dropping like this. And I didn't do it, and it loses me the game. Exactly. I was behind a ton of tempo. I lost like this was a Chimera, Catachan, and I also had Gaunt's Ghosts like chilling here. So just like I lost like 3 units to 1 unit of Death Shroud Terminators because I didn't drop Aquilons, and the game was over. Um, yeah, I mean he ended up holding more because he was like chilling here, 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 and I could not. I was supposed to be able to like push on hold more the entire time and then score big on the last turn. But because I was not able to do that, I ended up losing the game. I felt so honestly, the biggest thing about this game is like I don't really feel like I think this was the worst game I played at the event simply because uh simply because I I knew what the right play was and I didn't do it. Right? Um I think that's the worst thing. So I ended up doing really poorly. Purge the foe like primary. I drew kind of bad on secondary. As you can see, like my turn two, I just completely bricked. I was supposed to spend one CP. I had so much CP. Like absolutely supposed to just like redraw one of these. But again, like this turn two, when I'm supposed to just like draw the line of Aquilons, I just wasn't thinking this turn for whatever reason. And you can't play a game of 40k when the most important turn of the game you're not thinking. So yeah, that was pretty brutal. So credit to Hans, like he took advantage of my mistake pretty well, but it was a mistake that I freely gave him, and I should not have. Yeah. So like I said, I think that was the game that I played the worst at the event, and yeah. So far of the games that I've talked about, I think my game up against Kyle Perry, my game one where I was playing up against GSC, was my best game of the event so far. But let's go ahead and grab the next one. Hmm. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. For point costs, they shouldn't reflect what a unit can do in a single army detachment. Armor rules and attachments should be balanced against each other, and units should be balanced against each other. Uh, I don't have a strong opinion on that, to be honest. Ugh. Let me grab. Okay. Um, I don't remember who my round four is. That is not round four. That was round eight. Oh, right, Alberto. Cool. Boom, 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 boom. I already did. Okay, cool. All right, catching up. Good job, me. Oops. All right. Well, I accidentally cut off the bottom half. Okay. All right, round four. So round four, we switched terrain layouts for day two. And this one, I play up against a buddy of mine named Alberto Chavez, or Albert. I asked him at the beginning, like, do you prefer Albert or Alberto? And he was like, whichever one you prefer. And I'm like, okay, cool. Anyway, he had an Apothecary Biologist with the Blade Driven Deep, and he was playing Ultramarines Vanguard. So this is the one where you can like pick up a unit at the end, and you have some like tricky, and you have like a stealth and benefit of cover. You basically like permanently smoke if you are not within 12 inches. Um, so the Apothecary Biologist, with the Blade Driven Deep, which is the like infiltrate enhancement. Lieutenant with combi weapon, Marnia's Calgar, Uriel Ventress, one unit of Assault Intercessors that end up fighting a Chimera pretty much the entire game. Unit of Aggressors, two Jump Pack Intercessor units, a Centurion Devastator squad with all the las cannons, two Inceptor squads, one with Plasma, one with Bolters, Infiltrator squad, a Rep X, and then two Scout squads. And this game was interesting because we played this one on Crucible of Battle, Adapt or Die, and Terraform. And boom. All right, I'm gonna re-screenshot this one because it's bothering me. If it's bothering me, it's harder to do. Mm -hmm. Boom, boom. All right, come on, phone, cooperate. Copy, copy, paste. Okay, cool. Let me catch up. It's a former Marines guy, and like I like that the apothecaries are not buffing character. I don't understand lieutenants at all. Basically, Primaris are 30k Marines, but way worse. I'm, I'm not sure I follow on that. Partly I don't play 30k at all, but I understand it's like the older editions of 40k, where you sell like blast templates and things. Anyway, what was I doing? Right, talking about game four. So game four, I ended up playing up against Albert, and one of the major things. So I ended up going for let's okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I ended up going first in 6 out of my 8 games this weekend. Uh, yeah, this one actually plays very different to the other one. Um, Main reason being that uh both sides have. All right, hold on. Let me grab the other one. Crucible, Crucible. Okay. So the main like conceptual differences between these are one, this object or these side objectives, like it is really easy to shoot someone off of this, whereas it is very difficult to root a character off of these spots. Um, the other major difference is that because there's this long firing lane, it is really hard to screen out your backline on these, simply because like if I have a unit with a lot of long range shooting and you have like a guy touching here and then like screen out like this, I'm gonna shoot your screen. Whereas here, that is cut off. The other really big difference that we have between these two is these runes right here. So the major like game plan is if you have like a chimera here, you just scout here and it's basically untouchable unless your opponent wants to challenge the long firing lane. Whereas on here, the chimera is here, and so distance, this distance is like 9-ish. So like if you don't have access to move, most armies are gonna have to go for like an advance. Whereas up here, you can put a chimera like entirely safely here from like most of the main firing lines. Um, and then you can put like Catachan here. So it's way harder to root people off of this objective than it would be to root someone off of this objective. That actually changes the play pattern a lot. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So this game, um, Albert had his Calgar aggressors unit like here. Um, and the Centurions chilled like here at the very beginning. I don't remember where the rest of yeah. Um, Here, and basically like this was one of the things where I knew that I needed to have the ability to react to his units, because at the end of every one of my turns, he can spend 1 CP and pick things up. And I'll mostly tell this one kind of from my opponent's perspective, because in this game, I end up sending like this Chimera, and it like yeeted itself to kill like his Phobos lieutenant or whatever, like lone op lieutenant he had over here. Um, I was just trying to hurt his scoring, and Marnius Calgar ended up like going this way in order to like recover access to his natural objective. But there were two major mistakes that Albert made in his turn 2. So I think this one was a mistake. I think he could have used like his Repex or something, which was like chilling in here to go take care of this problem. But the other major mistake that he made was I had a unit of Catachan that was in like a Scout Chimera here, and they had like basically made this wall so that like Marnius Calgar couldn't really come this way. He would have to go like around in some way. Um, and the way that he ended up solving it, this Catachan line, is he had a unit of Assault Intercessors basically just go to here. And I also had a Chimera like here touching the point. But these Assault Intercessors threw a grenade, which doesn't sound like a particularly big deal, but it is 1 CP. And we'll get to what that means soon. This meant that going into my turn, I don't remember why, he spent another CP on something else, but he was only going to have 1 CP on my turn. But the other thing that he did is he picked up these Centurions, and they came to here. And this is a pretty because I had like a Chimera, like I think it was touching the point. I had a unit of like Catachan, and I think the Ogren, yeah, the Ogren were inside here. And then I had like a tank commander like chilling here. Um, this doesn't look like a huge difference, but the main reason why this Centurions were in a bad spot is because these Centurions could have been here. And this has a couple of things. One, this tank commander, depending on exactly where he puts it, can move maximum of 13. And if it moves 13, it'll be hitting them on 5s because they are like permanent stealth if they're outside of 12 inches. But 13 plus 24 is 37. They have like a maximum threat range of like here or something. He can just put it outside of that of the Demolisher Cannon. So he ended up putting them in a position where this tank could just come and shoot them. So that ended up being, and these two things combined ended up slaughtering him. Marnius Calgar and his unit came over and it killed everything that was over here, and I was like, cool. But I got you off of it for a turn. What ended up happening on my turn 3? Was it 3? Let me double check. 2 or 3, I'm not sure, is I end up bringing in a tank commander here. This guy goes here. Um, my other tank commander who was chilling here comes in and starts trading with his Repex. And then I bring in a unit of Scions over here to do a bunch of damage to Calgar. And these two tank commanders combined just kills this unit of Centurions outright. But he also spends his last CP on Armor of Contempt over on the unit of aggressors that is over here. So it means that like the Scions kill like 2 or 3 aggressors, but just as critically as killing them by making him spend 1 CP on Armor of Contempt, they are now stuck here, right? They don't move very fast. They don't have anything else that they can realistically get into, and so yeah, they super overkill the Scions afterwards, but then it means that like he doesn't have any other tools. I've killed his Repex, I've neutralized the aggressors, and I've killed the Centurions. So now his army doesn't do any damage, and I have free reign to kind of do whatever I want on the rest of the board. And losing the Centurions and stranding his aggressors ends up losing him the game pretty hard. And it all comes down to the fact that he threw this grenade earlier for the 1 CP. Because if he had 2 CP, he gets like one of them Armor of Contempt, and then he can pick up the aggressors at the end of it. But because he has to pick between like trying to salvage whatever the unit is and like picking them up, then he still has to look for these like deep strikes and like 9-inch chargers, which always sucks. Guard is way more close to range than most people think. Absolutely. Yeah, Guard is really powerful in like the 18 to 24 inch range. A lot of people think like Lehman Russ battle tanks and exterminators and whatever with like 48-inch range. It's like, yeah, we can win tank battles, but especially on Games Workshop terrain, it doesn't come up that much. Oh, that's so dry. So anyway, um, that crucial mistake just meant that he ran out of damage relatively early. And I ended up winning this one 89 to 55, mostly just because like I ended up terraforming everything over the course of the game, and he just never scores anything real. He just runs out of units really, really quickly. 89 to 55. I really enjoyed this one. Albert's a fun opponent to play against. And so, oops. So like I said, there are 2 mistakes, right? The grenade, and then this unit coming in too close. How do you handle double Terran effects plus 1 to 2 exocurrent? It depends a lot on your list. So the thing about the Tyranno effects is, it's very, yeah, honestly, like Steelstorm says, you kind of don't. So let's go ahead, not that, let me Okay. So let's say they have like a Terran effects like here or whatever, right? Like Terran effect. Let's look it up. So I'm not just lying. Ba-bum. Okay, so it moves 9. Okay, so Terran effects moving 9. Like if you have the Terran effects here and it moves 9, realistically it's gonna take you like 4, 4, and then like 5 inches, right? So you can kind of take a look at like what can this see? This can't see. I'm gonna use the line tool. So we have already established that this Tyrannofex can't see anything this way if it goes that way. If it moves 9 inches this way, it's like to here, something like this. This Tyrannofex can never see anything in this pocket. Never. It can't see it. So the main thing that you want to do with like a Tyrannofex is hide from them, right? Tyrannofexes will outtrade basically everything we have in our army except for a tank commander. So what you're generally going to want to do is until they like move a Tyrannofex like out into the open, um, you just want to ignore them. As long as they're hiding, you just want to move into positions where they can't shoot you. But what you'll do is eventually when this Tyrannofex like comes out and you have this like tank commander that's been chilling here and has been hiding the entire time, is you're going to drive it in range. You're going to shoot it once, probably not kill it, and then when the Tyrannofex like shoots you back, you shoot it again on death. And so this allows you to spend your 225 point unit to kill the Tyrannofex. And even though this is like trading down, once the Tyrannofexes are gone, they are out of ways to kill our tanks. And so if you can be aggressive this way, this is the best way to do it. The other things that you're looking to do against Tyrannofexes are hit them with mortal wounds. So grenades, tank shock, um, yeah, Meltamines, I guess, a little bit from Kazarkin. But it's all about like pre-measuring where they can go. Um, yeah. You also, I'm pretty sure they have bad melee. Yeah, they only have 4 attacks in melee. Like, if you charge them with guardsmen, that's already like making them very sad. So I will oftentimes. Oh, the other thing that you can do. So if they have like a Tyrannofex here, and you drop like a line of Aquilons like here, like it can't shoot, right? Like it can't move anywhere that will allow it to shoot. So move blocking, pre-measuring, and then making sure you overcommit to killing it. Mortal wounds. Anyway, I am going to go get water because, like I said, I'm still sick, and yeah, I've been doing this for a little bit more than an hour, and I need more water. So I'll be back. Alright, I'm back, gamers. So my roommate, okay, so I went to a party like last week, which is maybe why I'm sick. Also, really in need of a haircut. But they gave us this peach ale, kettle sour Berliner Weisse style ale with peach puree, apple, and pineapple juice. And my roommate said it was terrible, so I'm gonna try it. And if I don't like it, it's getting thrown away. Oh, I feel so weak. Being sick sucks, dude. Don't call the cops on me. Mark this as this stream is not for children, so. Yeah, it's okay. You shit on Ben. Bad taste. Anyway. Okay, what was I doing? We're talking about turn FXs. We're talking about Albert. Okay, that means we can go into game 5. Ah, that means I gotta get another map. Dude, I live on the west coast of the United States. I grew up in Seattle, and we are the IPA capital of the world. Did you know that... No, that's not what I'm looking for. Did you know that there are more hops grown in eastern Washington, not Washington the capital, but like Washington the state, Pacific Northwest, um, than there are hops grown in Germany? Yeah, we have so many IPAs and so many like microbreweries, and it's like catching on in the West Coast. But yeah, there's so many microbreweries here. Okay. I'm gonna mostly skip talking about this game because it's really a mess. Not the actual gameplay, but like the resolution to it. Okay, so I ended up playing this one against Wyatt and his Space Wolves. He was playing Champions of Russ. Oh, spilled a little bit. Oh well. Um, okay, Wyatt was playing Space Wolves, Champions of Russ. Bjorn, Logan, Murderfang, Ragnar, Ulrich the Slayer, 1 Assault Intercessors, 1 Grey Hunters, ugh, 1 Impulsor, 1 Rhino, 1 Infiltrators, 1 Scout Squad, 2 Vindicators. He actually had really cool Vindicators. I liked his Vindicators a lot. 1 Wolf Guard, 10 man, 1 Wolf Guard Terminators, 5 man, and then 1 unit of Wolfen. And we ended up playing this one on tipping points. Wait, is this round? Yeah, this was round 5. Tipping point, smoke and mirrors, scorched earth. And this game, I generally had a game plan of I'm going to park a Chimera here, such that the Catachan inside can always just go take him off of this objective whenever I want. So as long as he's not standing on it, I don't really care. I'm going to overload. I'm going to have like 2 Chimeras, like here, such that they can come control this. And then I'm going to move tank commanders like here, such that I can control the no man's land objective, and then I'll also have scions that can drop like here that can shoot the no man's land objective or the center objective. And that was generally my game plan. And so a couple of things happened this game. So the first one is I don't think I've ever had an opponent tell me. So I had a tank commander like here, right? And I gave this one take aim. And then almost all the time, I'm like, hey, this can only move 10 inches. I can't shoot at whatever I want to shoot. Is it okay if I change take aim to move, move, move? And I have never in my life had a player tell me no before. But Wyatt told me no. So I was like, okay, we will adapt and overcome. But that was already setting up for like, this is going to be an interesting game. The most interesting thing that actually happens is at some point I have like Gaunt's Ghost like here, and he has a Rhino here with something inside, and he draws assassination turn 1, and he hangs onto it. And then on his turn 2, on my turn 1, I try and kill this Rhino, but he pops 2 CP, 1 for Smoke, 1 for Armor of Contempt, and the Rhino actually lives. And then when these guys like disembark and end up like something like this, I actually finally I do the thing. I take a unit of Aquilons and spread them out like this, such that these guys cannot charge into Gaunt's Ghost, which ends up saving assassination. Um, that's the only time I pulled this off at this event at all because everyone else had too much shooting. But like these are like Wolfguard. These were either Wolfguard or Wolfguard Terminators. Whatever they were, they had absolutely no shooting. Maybe that gives me a hint. Wolfguard. Yeah, not these guys have no shooting whatsoever. So it was one of those two things. But I was like, okay, cool. Well, here's a make a screen. Anyway, this game ends up playing out, and it's a relatively low-scoring game. But he ends up clocking out in turn 4. I end up clocking out in turn 5. And there's a disagreement over whether or not I had actually declared. So he ends up clocking out in turn 4. Okay, this Wolfguard. Because I had dropped a unit of Aquilons here after reviving them, such that I would have 5 OC to his 4 OC with whatever models were still in this objective. And what I said was that they were going to burn the objective on turn 5. Because I dropped them in bottom of 4. And just like, okay, cool. End of the game comes, and I see. So this is the first mess. The first mess is that I see I have a score of 55 to 59. And then I go, oh, wait, I didn't include the fact that they were burning, which would put me at 60 to 59. But he goes, is that something that you did after the clock was over because you saw the score? And I go, no, I mean, I said they were burning. But he never heard me say this. So it's a very awkward situation. We call over a judge to adjudicate. Judge asked, would you guys accept a draw? And I go, yeah, I guess. Turns out, I'll go ahead and copy it. Okay, so there is a really big mess with this. So you remember how I said my opponent held on to assassination on turn 1? Look what name that is. That's my name. I didn't draw assassination turn 1. I didn't draw established locus and didn't score it. But what I did do is on turn 4, I had no prisoners, but I was basically out of time. No prisoners, bring it down. I did score 0 points on that. So this is not supposed to be a 15. It's supposed to be a 10 because he gets a burn and hold his own. And this is supposed to be a 15. But I discovered this that night when I was going home. So this game, in everything but the official record, was a win for me. So the first mistake is I forgot to hit who went first. You know, because if I correctly mark that Wyatt goes first, this is his score, which would have been 55, right? Not 60. And then my score, even if I don't include the burn at the very end of the game, would have been 59. So ultimately, there's some communication issues. I hit a wrong button in my scoring thing. I end up winning this game. But because of the communication issues and this issue, we end up officially reporting it as a draw. And I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to move on to the next game. Okay. Ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-dum. Okay. My next game, my last game of day 2, play up against Juan and his Custodes. It's a questioning technique to detect deception. The person who is bullshitting will happily accept that compromise because it levels him up. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just wanted to play my next game more than anything else. Like, my biggest thing when I was in that position was we're still just playing a game of toy soldiers, and I don't know. It was a very weird situation overall. I was more interested in getting out of the situation than I was in winning the game because I mean, I even told my next opponent this like, "Hey, I just want you to understand like I'm not I'm not in a position to like win anything at this event already. I've already lost 2 games." And I was elevated and I don't know how I'm supposed to convince the TO like I'm right, you know? But like in my mind, not that. In my mind, I consider myself to have won the game. And then the other big thing about this is like I'm friends with the TO. I don't know. I wanted out of the situation more than I cared about the win. Yeah. Anyway, I think if it was like in court or something, like I would have fought harder about it. But like I was just like I don't care. Anyway, moving on. I don't wanna dwell on this too much. Um. Boom, boom. Round 6. All right. Round 6. I end up playing up against Juan Vasquez and his shield host Custodes. He had a Blade Champion with I think this is the +2 wounds enhancement. Second Blade Champ, Trajan Valoris, Winnie of Custodian Guard, uh, a Rhino. He had a Rhino? What did the Rhino do? I don't remember what the Rhino did. Anyway, Winnie of 2 Terminators, 2 Caladius Grav Tanks, 2 units of Wardens, 2 units of Prosecutors, and 1 unit of Witch Seekers, and a Calidus. Um, yeah, this game felt very controlled. I think the most interesting thing about this game. So a major mistake that I see a lot of players make, actually, is he ended up putting his Calidus like here or something at the very beginning of the game. If you are playing a Calidus, I don't think the Calidus is ever supposed to be anywhere other than like here or here in order to do like some secondaries on turn 1. Because if your Calidus like is in range to get killed on turn 1, if you're bringing a Calidus, you need it for scoring, right? Like any army that has a Calidus cares about it for the scoring purposes more than any damage that it's going to do. The second thing about the Calidus is that if your opponent draws Assassination turn 1 and it's out in the middle of the board, that's a free 5 points because the Calidus is not very durable, right? A lot of people think it has stealth. It does not have stealth. It has lone op, but it's a toughness 4, 4 wounds, 4 pinfall save. So that is 2 heavy bolter shots that need to get through to kill it, and that's like pretty easy to make happen. So, I end up dropping, or I have like Chimera, it scouts, and then it moves, and it just kills the Custodes on turn one. But yeah, the most interesting thing about this game, I think, is he had his like Trajan Valoris brick, like here, and I put a unit of Catachan, something like this, to try and box it in. And when the Trajan Valoris brick comes in and kills this really easily and hangs out on the middle objective, um, I do a couple of things. So one, um, the other thing is I had a very similar game plan where I just have like this Chimera with like Catachan in here and like Ogre in here, with the idea that I'm going to just deny him this objective over and over again. And it went okay. But the main thing is, so I end up having like a tank commander that trades with a tank commander like here, and he has like a Caladius tank here. And then his other one is like over here, and it kind of just hides most of the game because I never give it targets. Um, this Caladius tank, he pops 3 CP over the course of the game in order to get the 3 up or 4 up Feel No Pain against Mortal Wounds to deny my grenade, tank shock, and another grenade. And he just lives on 1 wound 3 times in a row, and I was like, oh my god. So that was very silly. But the main thing, so I have a tank commander here, and I drop in the Scions, and when the Scions drop in, they kill like 1 or 2 of the Custodian Guard, and then this Caladius tank shoots the tank commander dies, tank commander shoots at the Custodian Guard, kills another like 2 of them, and then uh, when this unit charges a unit of Aquilons that I had like put in like a ring here, the Scions shoot with an Overwatch against a target that's on objective, and leaves Trajan, or it kills the last of them, so there are no more guard, and Trajan is like alive on like 2 wounds. So I end up doing more damage to the Custodian Guard in this game outside of my shooting phase than I do in my shooting phase, and it was pretty wild. The rest of the game was very controlled on like turn 3. So 1 unit of Aquilons, 2 unit of Aquilons. He has like 2 units of Sisters on here. I obliterate both of them with Aquilons, and I force him to put the Caladius back on this objective. These ticks are still massively overcosted resin models. Yep, absolutely. I make a mistake, like, this Chimera comes out too early onto this objective, but once I kill the Warden brick that he has, like, over here hanging out on this objective, I still have, like, enough Catachan to auto-see him, and I never really lose control of my natural objective, and I stop his natural objective, like, once or twice. So this game was ultimately just a very controlled win. I think this Custodian Guard thing is probably the most interesting thing that happened during the course of the game. Also, the Custodes dying right at the beginning. But yeah, it's a fun game. I told my opponent, like, right at the beginning, it's like, hey, I just want you to understand, like, I am just a little bit elevated right now. It has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with the fact that I just finished another game. So I went second in this one, taking holds, and as you can see, like, it was a controlled win. I was counting on this 15 at the end. Comes through. I get a 7-point win. It's a fun game, but nothing really, like, super surprising happened this game, other than the fact that the Caladius tank lived as long as it did. But yeah. 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 Cool. Alright. It was a fun game. I liked Votann. Cool guy. Don't need that. Then we have round 7. I played this one up against Travis. So, Travis, when I played him in round 7, he had said that he had played guard. I was the 3rd guard player that he played at the event, and he had lost to both of the other guard players. So, let me grab copy image. Boom, crop. So let's double check. Oh, interesting. All right, Travis. He played Andrew Gagno, who's playing guard. He played Tony, who was playing guard. And then none of these guys were playing guard. He played me. And his three losses at the event end up all being the guard players, which is pretty funny. But Travis was playing Votann. With band, of course. So he had two Einherjar champions, one with the appraising glare. So I'm pretty sure this is the one where you point at something and you're like that. I get like everything counts as having a judgment token on. I don't remember what Wayfarer's Grace is. A third solo Einherjar champion. Oh wait, no, this is the one that stands back up. So you had one solo champion that stands back up. And then second or a third normal Einherjar champion. One unit of Hearthstone Warriors split into two fives, two Sagittars, one unit of Berserks, two units of 5 Hearthguard Terminators, 3 Hecaton Land Fortresses, 3x3 bikes, and then a unit of Jaegers. And we were playing this one on Crucible Battle, Swift Action, and Linchpin. Swift Action meaning that you can advance in action or fall back in action if you are battle line. So, this game was mostly dictated by a mistake that Travis made on turn 2. Where he had like his unit of 3 bikes that were, tucked in something like this. How guard versus guard playing lately? Aquilon should have changed stuff. Yeah, the guard versus guard matchup is really brutal because you just can't protect your home unless you're like really teching into it. Yeah, that's the one. So, also, hello, Randall slash Taylor. Um, but the big thing, so the major thing that decided this game was when you had these bikes here, it left enough space back here for me to bring Scions. And I can tell that anybody who's watching this is like, oh, there's space for Scions. Yeah. Yeah, there was space for Scions here. And these died. And the big thing that this does is he has like a Hecaton like here that has like the 5+1, like the champion plus like the Terminators. And these have to come back. So I effectively get a 2-for-1. Like, I kill the bikes, and then the Terminators are now hanging out on his home objective for the rest of the game. Which is effectively a 2-for-1 kill. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Scion's super kill bikes. It was, like, super, super overkill. Yeah. That basically determined the game. I basically just out-traded, like, tank commanders. As long as tank commanders get to shoot at the land fortress once, if the land fortress somehow manages to kill the tank commander and they're like counter shooting, the tank commander shooting on death should always kill the land fortress. So I was just trading super super efficiently basically this entire game. And pretty much the main way that Travis had to try and come back was he had like a land fortress like here-ish, and I had like a tank commander here. There's a little bit closer. Something like this. And he basically asked me, if I disembark my guys and go for this charge, what do I need to roll? Because he has like, I think it's 5-inch movement plus 3-inch disembark. And I told him that the charge distance that he needed to roll was was that he was going to need to roll an 11. And he goes, well, I think it's my only out. And I go, yeah, I agree. I think it's your only out. Because the major thing on this one is I had held him to a 3 for 2 turns in a row, I think. Let's double check. Yeah, so we're playing on Linchpin. So on his turn 2, the only reason he controls this one, I'm going to put a red star, is because he had Sticky It, and then the turn after that, I like drop Aquilons onto this objective, so he only controls this one. So I've held him to a 3 and a 3 on his primary already, where I've scored a 13 and a 3. So I'm already up 10 primary. I'm outscoring him on secondary, and even though he has bottom of turn, like it's gonna be very tough because I have like an Ogren, Chimera, and like I've already gotten him off this objective at least once. So like he's just in a really desperate position. He really needs to threaten my home objective. He goes for this and he fails. He rolls like a 3 and then he rerolls it into like a 9, which are these are both less than 11s. Um, but basically the major issue is of course this. The fact that the Scions get to come in and blow him off the home objective suddenly means that uh, I have easy access to get him off of his home objective. He needs to turn a major unit around because his Hearthkin warriors were all dead. Um, his bikes were like floating around. And so I think Travis, like, even at the very beginning, was like, I don't want to play against Guard again. I've already lost him twice so far this event. Yeah. I changed from 2 Scion minimum squads to 1 big and at least 1 Aquilon, which takes the insertion-ish task while Scions do what they wanted to and cause a deep danger. Yeah, I think in general, like, ugh, I think in general, having the threat of Scions deep striking into your backline is generally more powerful than actually doing it because most players are going to like take care of it, right? So, let's go ahead. Let's close this out again. So remember that he had like a Hearthkin warrior unit that was like chilling, chilling here, and then it like rushed into a Sagittar. Like if he had had a his bikes like this, and he already had like guys like here, like it was not possible for me. He could absolutely set up such that it was not possible for me to drop Aquilons onto this objective. So if he was able to do that, he's able to hold this, and then my Scions are going to have to come out later on in order to try and kill his Terminators. Thanks for the super chat. I think that's what it's called. Mopey Hornet. I'm doing a combat patrol tournament this Saturday. Any tips when using guard for it? Um, I do not know a lot about combat patrol, to be entirely honest. Is that something I can check on here? Combat patrol. Let me see if I can look over our stuff and see what is this. Karsk's Gunners. Cool. Okay. Grand Squad, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you have to split them? Interesting. Move, take aim, take cover. Okay, so this is by far your best order. Move, because the game is about movement. Being able to move onto different objectives matters a lot. Let's see. Okay, that's pretty cool. Gain SCP. Eh. Attacks yet this battle? Um, I definitely think you just go with this default enhancement because lone operative is like you have to have not shot yet. So like this only comes up once. So I don't think this is particularly useful. Okay. So how does this work? You pick like one of these, right? At the end of your opponent's turn, you score 3 VP if there are no enemy units wholly within your deployment zone unless they're battle shocked. If there are no enemy units wholly within 6 inches of your deployment zone, you score 5 VP instead. Okay. Sounds okay. Methodical destruction. At the start of the battle round, select any one enemy unit that is not destroyed. Oh, interesting. These both seem good. I think this one is easier to control, right? Because like you basically just say, I'm gonna kill that thing. Um. Okay. When do you have to pick this? You have to pick this before you know who's going first. Ooh, that's tough, actually. Ah, this is just consistent. Yeah. So I think this one's more consistent. But if you get a pick after you know who's going first, like this is super powerful. If you ask me about outdated rules because of Combat Patrol, yeah, I don't know a lot about Combat Patrol. I actually haven't played it at all. Reinforcement step. One destroyed. Oh, nice. Yeah, you should be trying to do this every single turn. Add a new unit. Set that unit up anywhere wholly within 9 of your... And not with engagement. Ooh. Yeah, I think you still do this almost every turn. This is okay. This is nice. Um... Wait, what? Your opponents cannot declare a charge? Oh my god, this is super Shadow in the Warp. Okay. This is huge. Dude, I wish we had this in normal 40k. Like, that's broken. So, okay, basically, I think your general game plan is, like, you're going to be eating Cadian shock troops forward relatively early on. Um, and then you can buy yourself, like, an entire turn. Um, yeah. So against melee armies, you're definitely going to do this at some point. Maybe turn 2 or turn 3. But otherwise, you're just going to eat these guys forward and demand that your opponent deal with them by putting a bunch of OC on objectives. After that, like, then you can go for things. The main thing that I remember about the Guard Combat Patrol is that our damage output is terrible. Like, it's really, really low. Does our Scout Sentinel... Oh, it's an Armored Sentinel, Plasma Cannon. Okay. Grenade Launcher, Plasma... Grenade Launcher? Flamer Melt... Is, oh, this is why people build these. Oh my god, that makes so much more sense now. I was always wondering, like, why do I see people building Flamer Melta Gun and Grenade Launcher Plasma Gun? It's because the Combat Patrol. So yeah, I mean, I still think you just treat your Cadians as 20 OC. You just yeet them forward at your opponent, and then after that, then you just be like, okay, well now you can't kill me. So hopefully you play into like some melee guys. I hope that's useful. Like I said, I have not played any Combat Patrol with Guard. I actually played it with Tau one time. But thank you for the super chat. If you have any other questions about it, let me know. But just kind of keep that in mind. What were we doing? Right, we're talking about Travis and that game. Um, let's see. Was there anything else interesting that happened during this game? He went for the really big charge and failed. Yeah, I kind of got the sense that Travis, especially later in the game, just kind of wanted to like fight. Not me, is like just fight on the board. Just like I want to try and kill things. Um, you know, and he did that. Made a couple of fun charges, but like he was really just out of things. Draft them combat control and make them build these weird loadouts. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think just treat your guys as OC more than damage dealers, right? The goal of 40k is about standing on objectives, and Cadian shock troops are pretty good at that. So, if you put 20 OC on a point and then you like hit them with artillery strike, such that they can't charge you and they're -1 to hit, that'll probably help out quite a bit. Um, anyway, so yeah, finishing up with Travis, this one, yeah, I mean, it ends up being like a 20-point victory. Um, yeah, I mean, the 10 points on turn 2 ended up being like the big breaking point. I think I spent insane bravery to control an objective early on, and then I just outscored him on secondary as well. So it was pretty one-sided. He got a couple of charges into tank commanders later in the game, and I think that made him a lot happier. But yeah, all of his losses were to Guard at this event. Which brings us to our last game of the day. And it was against Hypercrypt Necrons, which we all love. Mm -mm. Alright, got the map. Send this to my friend's dead Discord account. Alright. Okay. So, first thing about this one, boom. So we played this one on tipping point, hidden supplies, and take and hold. And then we did the roll off, like we said, with hidden supplies, so they went in the different direction. So we basically had our objectives something like this, whatever it was. And then, of course, this guy did not exist. But basically, it was, you could put like guys here, and it was almost impossible to like get someone off of it without charging them. Game 8? Yeah, oh my god. Randall, there were 14 Necrons players, I think, and like 9 guard players. So the fact that I only hit 1 Necron and 0 guard mirrors, I was very happy about. What's your opinion on Ogre and 6-man squad bricks, or just keep them as 3-man as golden rule? I think, I think 6-mans are funny, but the biggest thing about them is they're rapid ingress units because they can only shoot 9, so you can't bring them in off of the board edge and shoot them with all of their guns. And you also, yeah, and if you also just like run them out from behind some cover, like your opponent should be able to play up against that pretty effectively. So as long as you are trying to find, if you're trying to use them most effectively, I think it is as a rapid ingress tool. But the problem with that is we already have so many good rapid ingress tools between like Legion Rush battle tanks and Rough Riders and Scions, not Aquilons anymore. But if we have like all of these good rapid ingress, I don't know if the Ogren like make the cut. But I also don't think they're like that like they're not so far below everything else that they're ridiculous. So if you want to bring a 6-man, you do it as a rapid ingress threat. Otherwise, you just leave them as 3-mans. Yeah. Wait. So Randall, how many games did you actually have going up against like Necrons? Was it just the one? In early 10th, we said the guard had very good profiles, but the game was mostly driven by detachment and armor rolls. Yeah, there were some absolutely crazy things. Ugh. Ugh. Yeah, there were some absolutely crazy things in early 10th. Luckily, I dodged most of it. I remember hearing people talk about like Manticores being like 80 points or whatever when they could hit on 2s, re-rolling 1s. And when I remember hearing that, I remember also hearing that like Guard wasn't even like a top 3 army. And I was like, that is crazy to me. If you put like those rules of Guard into like modern Guard at 80 points, like we would absolutely just terrorize the entire meta and it would not be close. Nice, yeah. Necrons I've always had a bit of trouble with. Just because like they beat me or they are better than us at like the attrition game, which is how I generally like to play guard. But anyway, okay. Let's go ahead take a look at Dylan's list. So Dylan's a cool guy. Spoiled it. He was playing Hypercrypt, like we said. He had Silent King, Scorpic Lord with the Dimensional Overseer is the one that you could pick up a 4th thing. Another Scorpic Lord. Unit of 5 Immortals. 2 units of Death Marks. Unit of Flayed Ones. What are the Flayed Ones? Oh, I remember what they did. They just died. 2 units of 3 Scorpic Destroyers. 1 unit of 1 Locust Destroyer. 1 unit of 3 Locust Heavy Destroyers. 2 units of 1 Locust Heavy Destroyer. 1 unit of 3 Tomb Blades. A unit of Canopic Spiders. 2 Doomsday Arcs. Triarch Stalker. Yeah. It's nuts. Playing 3 Manticore Terrors in the field, not being able to compete. Yeah. Nids, Tau, GSE, T-Suns, Orc, CSM, W, Necron. Nice! You also hit 8 different factions. I hit 8 different factions. I was very happy about that. I didn't have to, like, play a bunch of GSC players. Which GSC player did you end up playing against? Because I ended up playing against Kyle Perry round one, and I think that was the loss where I played really well. But it is what it is. Um, okay, let me see. So going into this one, there's a bit of a disagreement, which we had at the very beginning of the game. So like it didn't affect any gameplay, but WTC, I'll pull it up. WTC FAQ. Alex. Yeah. Alex is a very good player. Also a very cool guy. Big fan. It's like reserves, blah blah blah, shooting phase, sequencing, setting up models. Okay, so I knew we were playing under the WTC FAQ, and that means that we're following we are following this, which basically says when unit that started the battle, i.e., was on the battlefield during the first player's command phase, on the table is placed in strategic reserves. If that unit has an ability that states that it is allowed to be set up in their reinforcement step of your first, second, or third movement phase, and may deploy in any of your turns. So like a Calidus or like a drop pod or something. If it has an ability or stratagem that allows you to deploy in a specific way, such as Deep Strike, it may deploy in any of your turns. If it has neither of these abilities, then may only be deployed from your second turn onwards. If it has Deep Strike, that unit can make use of the Rapid Ingress stratagem in any of your opponent's turns. Okay, so what this means is that, according to the WTC, if you pick up something, from Hypercrypt, and it does not have Deep Strike, the only way to bring it in turn one is with the 3-inch Deep Strike stratagem, Cosmic Precision. Apparently, this had not come up in any of Dylan's games earlier, and the first time we addressed it was in round 8. And this, I don't know how much it actually like changed his what do you call it? Changed his game plan. But we called over Jason, the judge, and was like, "Hey, I just wanna clarify before we know who goes first, what the plan, like what the ruling on this is." And then apparently after the event was over, so in the moment, because I had this rule ready to go, Jason agreed with me at the time that like, no, you cannot bring things in turn one if it doesn't have Deep Strike. However, you can. However, apparently after the event, Dylan found like a different rule in the Pariah Nexus like tournament companion that said yes you can, and so obviously it'll depend on like what your TO says, but I just want people to understand if you're playing Hypercrypt, ask about this interaction before you start playing the game, because you don't want to catch people in like any weird gotchas or anything like that. So anyway, so we did that. That took a little bit of time at the very beginning, and then it became this very, very cerebral game. So most of what this game ended up becoming for me was I was trying to deny my opponent as much primary as I possibly could. And let me grab it. And my goal was that I was going to win this one on primary, because I was very confident that I won any action secondary or anything that required me to be alive at the end of my opponent's turn, like recover assets or sabotage or defend stronghold. I was very convinced these were all dead secondaries going into Hypercrypt. However, I had more things that were going to trade effectively into Dylan's army, such that I could deny him primary over and over again. And that was my general game plan going into this. And the game plan ended up working out quite well. What ended up happening in this one was I ended up controlling. I got a 10, 15, 15, 5 on primary, whereas Dylan only got 5, 5, 5, and then took a secret mission. But basically, what this game ended up being about was I tried to control my home, this one, and this one at the beginning of every turn. And then I also was sometimes controlling this one because I had like one guy here who would sometimes pass his battle shock, score me a couple of points. But I remember I did my insane bravery on like turn 2 in order to score my 5 points over on this one, which was pretty ended up mattering quite a bit. Where did the stream chat go? There it is. Whereas on the other hand, I was trying to make sure that I could always put enough OC onto here and here to make sure that Dylan was only scoring his home. And that ended up working out quite well because I held him to a 5-5-5. I would put like a Chimera. I'd put like a Chimera or like a Catachan onto here. I would shoot him off of this one, in order to make sure that I could keep him to 5 primary every single turn. And this game really came to a head in turn 3, I think it was, when Dylan kind of pushed all in. He had like Silent King and like a Doomsday Arc here, like a Doomsday Arc here. He brought in like the shoot a million shots volume destroyers over here. I overwatched one of them, but they killed Gaunt's ghosts, who are just hanging out over here. And then dead. Um, but this was his turn 3, where I had Tank Commander like here, Tank Commander like here, and like Tank Commander here, and he drew marked for death. So of course I mark all 3 of these so that I can shoot them on death. And he killed none of them, and everything in my army, except for one unit of Catachan, lived with at least one model in it. So he only got 2 points and no prisoners. And so he completely whiffed. And then on my strike back, he also, I actually think the Silent King was here. Then on my strike back, he had a unit of this Scorpec melee guys, that ended up dying. The Silent King was left on 2 wounds, and I charged it with Scions. And he cleaned all of them up, but I was like, okay, it's worth it if you don't like hit a bunch of sustains, but he had a lot of sustains. Then like I put like a unit of Aquilon, 2 units of Aquilons like here, a unit of Aquilons to stretch out between these 2 objectives to deny both of them. I just trying to force him to commit a bunch of resources to hold his own. But this game was just a very cerebral game because we both had to figure out, it was like, okay, my opponent can basically go anywhere they want if they really want to. But because he did almost no damage to me on his go turn, and then I beat him up really bad immediately after that, it ended up being a really a tough game for him to like come back from because he did no damage and I basically got an extra turn of shooting. So the game ends up becoming fairly close. If not in score, then in actuality, because at the very end, as we're starting to like run out of time, I have. Let's go ahead. I have like Lord Solar, like here, and like a tank commander here. And the idea with Lord Solar was that if he wanted to drop onto this objective, he would have to do it like here, such that the tank commander could overwatch. He had the unbroken wall, where he was trying to stand on 3 objectives, and so he was able to control. Oops. He was able to control this one by having the Silent King here in a position where I couldn't shoot him, and then he just ran over to control this one. He had like the lone Scorpic character hanging onto this one, and then he came in here, and I overwatched and killed enough that he was not going to out OC Lord Solar on the point. We later realized that it would have been better for him to just like 3-inch them over here, where I didn't have something that could overwatch them. But either way, even if he makes it, I would have won 86-79. But as it was, I end up winning this one 86-59. And you can see that in this game, sabotage and recover assets. I didn't even go for sabotage because I was like, I can't live right? Anything that is going to be trying to do this is just going to be he's just going to drop something and he's going to deny me a secondary. I even discard defend stronghold because I can't do it. Um, but his turn 4, you see with the or turn 3 with mark for death and no prisoners, he just didn't do any damage when he needed to. Not able to score his secret mission, and then um, he was just in damage control on his turn 4. So ended up being a fairly controlled victory at the end, but still a good time. Let's see. Primary domination didn't work out. Yeah, yeah. Thanks. The game plan ended up working out pretty well for me. Um, so just dominate primary, and my goal was that like I said, I needed to hold him to 5 primary every turn, such that he would be forced to go for a secret mission. And as long as I'm, if these are only tens, this game plan might not work out, right? Because if I'm down 10 points and this is a 76, and he hits a secret mission, I'll lose this by 3. But because I got a couple of 15s in there, like it ends up working out quite well. But yeah, I always find that Hypercrypt is very draw-ish for guard, right? It is hard to blow them out, and it is also really hard for me. So let's go. Let's kind of go back to the map. I generally, as a player, struggle to identify when I'm just supposed to yeet myself at my opponent. And maybe this is something, Randall. I know you. I definitely have respect for your game, and so I'm kind of curious. Like when you play against Necrons, Hypercrypt Necrons, my general worry is like the DDAs, right? He drops a DDA here, he drops a DDA here, or like they come in like here or something, and he can just shoot anything he wants. And it's really hard for me to just accept the first like what do you call it? The fact that my opponent always gets to decide when the engagement starts. So, like, maybe I'm supposed to just be like, okay, you come in, you kill me, or you kill some stuff, but then I'm going to kill you back. I think I'm really bad at identifying when that's the correct game plan. Um, so if anybody has, like, thoughts on when that's what you're supposed to be doing, like, let me know. Yeah. So with that, let's go back to the California Cup. Placings, overall, um, there's a lot of good guard players here. So let's just look at the Astra Militarum. So Logan ended up doing the best. Andrew Gagno, I was actually very surprised because you can see that he won his first 6 games. If he won um, either his round 7 or round 8, he was going to win the entire event based on the fact that he had the best win path. Meaning that he had lost his first game the latest in the entire event. Whereas, like, so basically what this means, if you're 7-1 and I'm 7-1, but I lose round 1 and you lose round 2, you are going to outplace me because you have a better win path. It took you longer in the event to lose than it took me. So Andrew Gagno was going to have the best win path out of everyone. So if he won either of his day 3 games, he would have won the entire event, but he lost both of them. So Logan ends up being best guard. Andrew Gagno gets second. And then Ben Jurek, Tony Baumeier with the Air Force, me. This is Randall. And then Alex, Celeste, and Jeremy. So again, Harry Phil's Lament. It was great to meet you there. It was really fun to meet a bunch of people. So like Jeremy, Taylor, I've seen your name pop up a bunch. Tony, I got to actually meet for the first time. Cool guy. And then, yeah, so that was fun. But my overall, I officially end 5-2-1, which put me at 15th out of, what was it? I think it was 88 total players. Yeah, 88 total. And then, but the other thing, okay. So with the games that I played, if this is a win, I would have jumped up to here, where, actually, I don't know. I don't know if I would have been above or below Eddie, but, 10th or 11th. So in my mind, that's kind of what it really is, but is what it is. I'm still pretty happy. I went into this event expecting to go minimum 5-3, and then hoping to go, or like 6-2 was like my realistic, like this is what I should be able to do, and then 7-1 was something like with the number of very strong players at this event. If I went 7-1, I would have been ecstatic. So because like nobody went undefeated, not even first place did. Who did he lose to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, he actually lost to the guard player. Nice. Anyway, so yeah, for whatever reason, Steelstorm33, I cannot see your last message here. What happens if I pop this out? Refresh. Refresh. Um, is my computer like dying? No, maybe YouTube is just dying. What happens if I do this? Boom, boom. Oh my gosh, there was a bunch. Okay, great game plan. Need to pivot to first wave, second wave again, not very 10th. Smoke is their worst enemy I've found for Hypercrypt, and I push one that they just can't see by sitting still. Makes sense. Go hard. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a little bit closer. Triple Hydras and Hellhounds were insane. You did well. Thank you, thank you. For some reason, I like you talking about these games with drawing lines on maps, despite I can't really follow. Yeah, thank you, thank you. I was at GSC Law 72, 73. I think so. Yeah, I remember this one was very, very close. Um, yeah, I'm really curious about the Hydras. I think it was well positioned for this in particular, and when a lot of people realized that they were 85 points, they're like, "Oh my God, that's a crazy tank." So, unfortunately, don't have any because, um, yeah, I haven't really. I've always thought that Exterminator was better than two Hydras, but two Hydras can stand in places. Are Hydras, um, are they OC2 or OC3? Hydra. Hydra. OC3. Okay, so 6 OC is pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is just a Chimera. Like, this is basically just a Rhino, but still, it's a Rhino that has, like, decent shots and the lethal hits. That's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm starting to wind down. I kind of want to go lie down again, because I'm sure you guys can tell, I am still not healthy. So, but I'll stick around for a couple minutes if anyone wants to just chat or, like, has questions or anything. Also, let me know if you like these streams or the videos more. So, um, like I said, this is mostly just a what do you call it? An experiment because I did not want to edit a video. Old Forge World Hydras are way cooler. Forge World Hydra. Oh, interesting. Oh, they look very robust. For advantage. That's really funny. Yeah, I see what you mean. I like the how robust the other turret looks. Yeah. For me, it's early in the morning. Can't like streams because I can really like, participate. Yeah, I mean we'll see. This was definitely not the day I normally would have done it. It probably would have been on a Monday or Tuesday. But anyway, I was in an enclosed turret. Oh yeah, that's true. Barrels are always warped on those. I've heard that about resin. Um whatever the forge rolled resin is, like I've heard it's really awful to work with. I remember having some old like Finecast stuff back in the day, and it's terrible. I hated it. You know, I'm convinced straight and regulated barras on Forge World Hydras are photoshopped. I've heard that people can that you can like put them in like warm water or something to bend them into shape. But even then, that's just like Forge World Manticores. Ooh, I like it. Yeah, because this is the one I'm used to seeing. But yeah, I like that too. The enclosed top barrels are just all over the place. Yeah. Yeah, I mean maybe I don't know if I want to buy anything new before what do you call it? Before our codex hits, because I feel like I can already build very competitive lists, even if I can't build every. I would love to try out Wesley's list. I don't know if Ganyo's list like speaks to me in the same way. So, we'll see. Based on the Manticore, I did not know the Manticore was a Forge World unit originally. Armageddon Basilisk. Oh yeah, these look so gorgeous. Bend them straight, hold them straight, and cold water sets them. Yeah, yeah, I love these. They just look like the self-propelled guns. You know, whereas I guess like the non Basilisk 40K. Yeah. Whereas like these, like they're just so I don't know. They're very typical 40K, but the Forge World ones feel more realistic to me as well. How do you? Oh yeah, how do you think my list? Okay, so let's go back. Let's find my list. Um, there was plenty to talk about that at the very beginning. Okay, so first off, great title, Gaunt's Ghost, Lord Solar. So okay, let me back up a little bit as well because part of the reason why I'm looking at changes is because my next event is not on Games Workshop terrain. So my next event that I'm going to is Battle Shocked up in San Francisco, and we are playing day one, this, on Siege and Destroy, and then day two, this. So if I was to play this event, if I was to play Cali Cup a second time, where I was playing on Pride Nexus 1, 3, and 6, um, things that things that I was kind of running into is I don't know how I felt about the third Chimera. The third Chimera Ogre package, I oftentimes found that one of these Ogre was kind of sitting on my home objective a lot, and the Chimera, like, so that's like 130 points, where it's like, is there something better I could have done with this? Um, and then the Scout Sentinel was like, it was fine, it was there. So in general, I think Scout Sentinel, Ogren, and one Chimera probably go for sure. So that's 130, 185 points. Now that we don't have the Rapid Ingress anymore, I think I drop a unit of Aquilons. So what is that? 185, 275. Um, so this probably comes out for sure. Um, and then the question is what to do instead. So I've been seeing a lot of like strong players dropping instead of having like triple tank commander, going to like one tank commander and like three of Flamer's battle tanks and or exterminators. So I'm looking at that. So the current list that I'm looking at bringing is just one tank commander and then two battle tanks and exterminator. Um, and then the other, I think that would be like one change I would look to make. Um, and then I'm not sure what to do if I was to play this exact event again. But yeah, like split up my firepower a little bit more. And then honestly, maybe more Catachan. They're just really cheap and they're very obnoxious for your opponent to deal with. Scout Sentinel with Heavy Flamer. Yeah, I can see that, especially in the Aquilon meta. Um, but the reason, so going back to what this is, one of the major things, so one of the, let me just copy this so I can do it in Paint. One of the major issues oh, that's so small. Why is it so small? Can I extend it? No? Okay, whatever. What if? Oh my god, it doesn't change anything. Okay. So one of the major problems I'm looking at with this is one, there's a lot of world leaders players coming to this event. Yeah. Are you doing it as the attaches or the navigator? Because I feel like attaches. Okay, I have already dropped the platoon command squad, and Arcadian command squad. So for me, the attaches are a 100 point unit, whereas the navigator is 75. So I'm like, eh. But even then, it's just like considering adding an attaché to Solar Squad along with a navigator. Yeah. So okay. So in general, so whatever. What I found has been what my plan for winning guard mirrors, especially with the Quillons, is to just put like a Chimera like this with heavy flamers and just be like, okay, like like on Games Workshop terrain, um, like these are all of your home objectives. Like you can basically do this, and you just put like heavy flamer Chimera, and just like, okay, like sure you can come in. Like even if you charge in afterwards, like here's the Overwatch. Like it just has so many shots that you're going to pick up like half the unit anyway. So this is kind of like that was generally my game plan, and then I feel like it's better in matchups where you also don't need it. That's generally my game plan, and that's part of why I had the third Chimera. Anyway, um, the reason why, so one of the things I'm looking at really heavily for this next event is a unit of 20 Kriegers, with the general idea being that they're going to hide like this, with like one guy and then like something like this. So that, I take all the saves on these guys in cover and they just sit there and then like most people do not have armies that could deal with this. Necron's Town, Grey Knights are a good portion of my local meta. Yeah, so for whatever reason, Los Angeles just doesn't have Necron players. They're all in San Diego. So like when we know they're coming up, we plan for them, but otherwise you just generally don't plan on hitting Necrons. Um, there are a fair amount of Tau players. And then Grey Knights like kind of come and go depending on like there's only a handful of Grey Knight players, but if you have a lot of that in your local meta, it makes a lot of sense. But anyway, so this is why I'm looking at bringing a 20 Krieg to this event, to just kind of mess with this because I don't know. Like, there's not a way to get people out from this. Like, your only option is, if people are staging here, currently my only real option is to a quill on screen like this, which only works if I'm going first. So it's not a consistent solution to the problem that I have right now. Um, and then the other thing is I'm also because of this, because we're on search and destroy for 3 out of the 5 games on this, I'm gonna bring a unit of Bulgrin to just stand here, into like World Eaters or excuse me, or like Blood Angels or something. And then if they if I'm not playing like that melee pressure, then the Bulgarian can come stand here and threaten to do this. But that's generally the tech. The core of the list. Let me pull up the last version that I was looking at. So it was so the current version for this event, Gonskos, Lord Solar, Silent Command Squad, Tank Commander with Grand Strategist, 2 Katachan, one a 20 brick of Krieg, 2 Chimeras, Bulgrin, 2 battle tanks, 1 exterminator, 2 Ugrin, 2 Aquilons, and then 1 5-man Scions. Rough Riders might be a good go-to due to mobility and number of L-shaped ruins. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've talked to him much yet in the in my Discord, but Clifton has been one of the top like guard players in China, and he loves Rough Riders. Um, I would not be terribly opposed to pulling out the Scions and taking a unit of Rough Riders instead. With the idea that like if I'm playing into a melee pressure matchup, they just chill like here or something, and you know you can have your Bulgurn screen and then the Rough Riders countercharge. And then into everything else, they're rapid ingress threats because you have a really strong rapid ingress zone down here, here, and then depending on like what else like here, because like these shooting lines have just been completely cut off. But I could see that. I could see that being an alternative. Um, it's just a very different style of list from what I've been playing since the Bulgurn changes. But I used to run 2 units of horses all the time. Anyway, yeah, it's gonna take some playtesting. I'm gonna do some playtesting over the next couple of days on TTS, so we will see how it goes. Anyway, gentlemen and gamers and everyone else, uh, I've been doing this for about 2 hours now. 5 + 5 songs, yeah, that's currently what I have. Um, instead of the Rough Riders, but I could see both. The stream's been going for almost 3 hours. I really want to go lie down again. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this, and I'll put this up fairly soon. But thanks for coming in. Thanks for listening. If you have more questions, put them in the comments. Hit me up on the Discord. If you're not already in the Discord, hold on, hold on. If you're not already in the Discord, here's a link. But yeah. All right. Anyway, thank you so much. It's good to see you, Harry Phil's Lament. It was nice to meet you over this last weekend. All right. Peace out, everyone. I am going to go get some more rest. So, bye.